What's up, hooligans? Jay Hooligan here.
Hooligan V.
And sorry we're starting a little bit late today. Yeah, we were up pretty late last night watching the Snyder Cut. We will be releasing we were going to do a hooligan review, which is typically just our review of the movie and our thoughts of it, like we did with Wonder Woman. And we ended up kind of doing a live review ish, kind of a post live review, which is literally just you watching us or watching me talk during a movie. So yeah, Snyder Cut, man. That's got things to say about it. It's very different, and we mentioned this before with Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition, which we did end up watching yesterday, also, just earlier, and it was better. It was significantly better than the theatrical release, and that was one reason why I and probably many other people were thinking, oh, maybe the Snyder Cut is going to be better, because the story behind that was Zack Snyder, who was on the project to begin with, his daughter ended up passing. She committed suicide, and so it got passed over to Joss Whedon, and as such, like, ooh, there's someone pounding on the door. That might be a delivery. Anyway, so yeah, like, it got passed on to Joss Whedon, and everybody kept saying, like, oh, it's different, it's different, it's different. It's not what what were we saying? Oh, it's like what Snyder intended.
Yeah, the way Snyder intended.
Yeah, still watching it the way Snyder intended, and yeah, like it is very different, definitely very different, and it kind of felt like, without giving anything away, as we're gonna put that out. We're actually going to put that out hopefully by tomorrow or next week or this weekend. I'll say tomorrow or this weekend sometime. It seemed more like he was trying to make an action film a little bit too much like an art house film, and it just kind of was pushing it a little
kind of kept
too
taking
much.
it out.
And because it kept taking us out. Again, we're gonna be releasing that anyway. So, kind of going back to what the topic is of today, using art as an outlet, not a distraction. So this kind of ties into what we were talking about before with dealing with stress, understanding your emotions, plus our medium that we do, which is film, and how it relates to dealing with stress in certain ways. So, if you don't know what an outlet is versus a distraction, all right. So when I talk about dealing with stress, it's usually in short term and long term. Short term is what I call an outlet. So an outlet is something that is an activity that is meant to transform negative type energy into something constructive or positive. Okay? And the long term is actually meditation. It's a change of perception or change of perspective, either way. And that usually comes through meditation, essentially spiritual development. Taking time for yourself to understand you, to implement changes consciously and mindfully, making changes like this, so it can be a way to get out of a situation or get out of a perspective that may be harmful or toxic to yourself or possibly to others, and all that comes from knowing who you are and being able to make changes that you want to change. And there was a video I put out, was that last year? It had to be last year. 5 steps to changing your life. 5 easy, not easy, simple. 5 simple steps to changing your life. And it has to deal with changing your perception and mindfully implementing changes so you can make those changes that you want. You can live the life that you want, and hope as best as you can. Just become the best version of yourself. So that takes time. Doing the spiritual development takes time. Doing the meditation implementing changes, getting out of those spirals, creating better spirals for yourself, positive changes in your life, that takes a lot of time. So when it comes down to stress, we experience stress every day in one form or another. So how do we deal with that? Now, outlets. So before those bigger changes can be implemented or are implemented or have made significant impacts on us, that's where your outlets come in. Now, outlets are short-term everyday things, so we don't get overwhelmed so much that we explode. Okay? So, as an outlet, now we got that distinguished. There's a difference between an outlet and a distraction. Okay? And a lot of people mistake distractions for outlets because the activities can be the same. All right? The definition of, at least my definition of an outlet is, like I said, an activity that changes and transforms like a negative energy that you have or stress. I can call stress negative energy into something positive or constructive, some sort of positive, constructive outlet or product, I should say. The caveat is it must be a mindful move. You must be able to do this activity and actually drive those things that are stressing you out into that activity to be a true outlet. This is where it differs from being a distraction. So a distraction, let's just take working out, okay? That's probably the best way to do it, right? Take working out as an outlet, okay? As an outlet, when you're working out, you have to mindfully remember and push all the things that were stressing you out into the workout that you're doing. So you got to remember all that and drive that into your workout and work harder to just let it out of your body. And it's probably one of the easiest and one of the best outlets because there's a lot of other physiological changes that happen. You get this release of endorphins. You're going to feel better anyway. And adding into that your stress that you've got from everywhere else, just allows it to just essentially outlet from your body, okay, or from your psyche, from your mind.
Right, but what if you're so focused on the workout that you can't really do that?
Okay, so if you're too focused on the workout and you're not doing that, that's the difference where it becomes a distraction. So if you are doing a workout, like I said, you're too distracted on the workout itself, and again, if you're doing like strength training, working on your rep max and stuff like that, that's probably better to focus so much on that anyway. But it can take away from you using it as an outlet. Why? Because when you're not consciously thinking about that, when you're not dealing with that stress on a mindful, conscious level, it gets pushed to your subconscious, right? And that's where it just essentially gets suppressed and suppressed and suppressed and suppressed, and it becomes harder to deal with. That's where working out, something that's really positive for you, can be used as a distraction in that sense. If you go into it as I'm using this workout as an outlet, right? So that's where, again, it's a very thin line to do it. And again, there are other positive outcomes from working out regardless. So
well, yeah, like you said, the endorphins that get released, right? Mm-hmm. They're supposed to help with anxiety, depression, right?
Yeah.
Counteract it a little bit. The more you do it, because the more your body produces it, right? Your
biochemical medley that happens. Yes. So adding all those things into your body that's automatically built into it, it's positive. It is going to be a positive result.
It lasts longer than saying because they say eating chocolate also helps release endorphins, right? But it's a shorter window.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, there are much more, like I said, long-term effects for working out and doing those. Just doing that. And again, that's just an example and how it can be really easy to distract yourself and not use it as an outlet. Now, again, you could still do a workout just to purely work out. And when I'm talking about, again, using it as an outlet, it's that's something you're mindfully going into. Say, hey, I need a stress release. I need to mindfully do something, an activity that I can just direct all that stress and negativity into something so I can just get it off my shoulders.
But meditation can't be an outlet?
Meditation can be an outlet. Again, okay, so it can be an outlet, but the hardest part to that is there's no positive, there's no like end product, if that kind of makes sense. That's why meditation is more mental and it.
But if meditation is in the process of letting go and just being in the moment, right?
If you're using it, yeah. So if you're learning to let go in that instance, yes, that's where meditation can be
Like
an
letting
outlet.
go of that stress or letting go of the
Correct.
offloading.
Correct. So, that depends on the type of meditation that you're doing. So there are different meditations out there. There's some that actually will have you do more physical activity, like you might be visualizing, where they'll have you tense, and then release on exhale. So then that is a physical change. That is a physical, there's a physical change that you're making, and therefore can be somewhat of a physical outlet because it's it's almost like working out.
Right. Well, it's the same thing. Like some of the ones that I've seen, it's like skin, like body skin, but it's like focusing on
Body scan?
Yeah, like you
body
scan
skin.
yourself. No, body scan.
I was
then
what kind of meditation is using?
What you're
body
doing
scan?
is basically feeling where in your body do you feel that like some type of tension or something,
Mm-hmm.
and just releasing that, or
Mm-hmm.
or some of it like not even just releasing stress, but also accepting care and love, right? If you're not used to that, and creating warmth in yourself, right? It's a visual thing for yourself. Like you're visualizing it.
Correct. And again, that's where it would be, but that is the mindful direction of directly dealing with your physiological stress to release it. That is a physical byproduct in a sense of that outlet. So you are focusing on that. A lot of meditations out there that are meant to help you change your perspective have to deal with internal reflection, actually going in and calming the mind down, creating a visual space to where you could actually deconstruct problems for problem solving, but also delve deeper into who you are, understanding who you are, what changes you want to make, understanding like that you do have that power of choice to do that. So again, you can use meditation as an outlet, but there still needs to be some sort of byproduct that you have that's a more immediate thing. So again, working out, it's a great way to do that because it's almost immediately, and there's this whole biochemical change that happens automatically because you're working out. So you're essentially compounding it. That's why working out is one of the best ways to do that. But you still need to use that mindfully and drive your stress in that direction. So just like how you're talking about with the meditations where they're actually having you scan your body, find the feelings of stress or tightness, and then learning to let go. It's also why massage is great, and going to get massages, so then they'll find it, and that's one of the things with massage is they'll find those areas that are tense where you're holding that stress, right, and then help you release it. So same sort of idea when you're doing meditation and everything, but working out, same idea. You have to drive that and be conscious and mindful of it so you can drive that energy elsewhere into something that you would like to see or like to do. Now, this is, again, the working out. I love using the example of working out as an outlet because, it's the most readily available. We're already built to do those things and have that chemical medley release, in working out. We grow through stress and stress being put onto the body that way as well. That's why they call it resistance training, right? But there are other activities that you can do as well, and just kind of hit up on both because thank you for introducing that with the meditation as an outlet as well. But that means that there's this whole spectrum of activities out there that you can use it, and using art or film is one of them. All right. think about people that write or draw or play music. All right, and let's put it. Let's take music for example. I used to play instruments and when I was growing up, and it was great. It was an outlet that I used during the time. I used to play piano. I used to play the saxophone. I used to play the guitar, but I think the one I did the longest was the saxophone. And in band, you're literally using that breath like to put into something that creates and in a group environment. Now obviously there's a conductor in when you're doing that in band, but that's still a direction that you're using it. And sometimes you got that bad day and you're just like focus on that music and you're just playing it. Sometimes you can get lost in it and let it out without without actually being heard to the point of being obnoxiously loud. And again, sometimes you can, and then the conductor will bring you back to center. But again, the difference is actually using your mindfulness, your consciousness to drive it into that activity. All right, people talk about this all the time. You feel that passion that's in that song, that person playing or that person singing, right? Versus somebody who's just kind of going through the motions. Like people can tell those differences, and that's part of it. It's like when you drive your emotion into it, that's a way to use it as an outlet. If you've ever heard of, was it Ben Harper's Amen Omen? Man, every time I listen to that, I always think back to I think he wrote that song for his fiance who died in a car crash. I don't know if that was urban legend or not, but regardless, when you listen to him sing that, or when I first heard that, whether it was a myth or not, or urban legend or not, listening to him sing that and just hearing him do it, you can still hear his emotions driving it. I always remember that as an example for it. But as such, it's something conscious that goes into it. This is what makes a lot of singers, great. Maybe not today, but this is essentially where it comes, where it's more of a distraction, like Cardi B. It's more of a distraction rather than as an outlet. Okay, and I guess you can kind of say, and this is not a justification for Mr. Bay, Michael Bay. We talk about how he just gets so stressed out on set and is raging, egomaniac that he can be on there. It is definitely not being used as an outlet.
He can be stressed out, but that's not okay.
No, it's not okay. Using people as your outlets, as your emotional dumpsters, is not a good practice. And that's another side to it, right? When you don't deal with that, that's essentially what it is. It's a lot of people, when they use each other as emotional dumpsters is what I call them. They're essentially trying to dump all their stress onto somebody else. This is why when you're frustrated with something or even someone, just reflecting that out or throwing that out at people, it's not really a good practice, because that is where karma comes into play, right? And karma is essentially like that transfer of energy. Why does it come back around? Because the idea, again, just kind of going back to that, is you're not dealing with that and transforming it into something. You're literally just transferring it to somebody. Now they get stressed out, right? Because you've literally transferred all that negativity to them, and then they may possibly do it to somebody else, and they might do it to somebody else. Yeah, and it's the chain of screaming, the circle of screaming. And it's right, but that's essentially it. That's the nature of karma. Why is it, when people say, it's going to come back to you, it's a concept, yes, but that's how it happens, right? You don't deal with your stress, you don't deal with your frustrations, and you let that out and throw that out on everybody else. Yeah, it's going to come back, because that's what you're putting out, the energy that you put out. It's like I've said before, you can't create or destroy energy. It just transforms into different forms. And if you're setting out a particular vibration, you're literally consciously making that, or even unconsciously making that based off of how you feel, etc., etc. But that exudes energy outward. Okay, people pick up on that sort of. I don't want to call it psychic energy because it's psychological, but it maybe it is psychological energy that people put out. Like you could tell when somebody's holding in so much anger or just stressed out. Their body language, the type of feeling that you get around them. Again, and then when they throw that onto you as an emotional dumpster, that transfers.
Were we talking about energies what? No, last time it was the week before. We're talking about energies for life and.
When we're talking about life, death, and energy, yeah.
Yeah, so is it like that?
Yeah. Just
people can feel and sense that something is off.
Yeah.
As an instinct.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're built on that. There's so many sensors that we have all over our body that's taking in information and interpreting information that we can't even we can't even fathom consciously. And that's why there's all these subconscious mechanisms that are built into who we are, and a lot of self-defense mechanisms as well built into that. So then it helps us eliminate avenues for us to become harmed, right? But one of those can be, again, how we deal with stress, just oppression, or suppressing all those emotions and everything. It does a number on our psyche, it does a number on our subconscious, and it can come out as being, as bursts out of, outbursts, of anger and negativity, and then that is essentially because it's got nowhere to go. If you're holding in all those things, it's like did I do my elephant crap analogy on here yet?
Probably.
I think I have. So my elephant crap analogy is, it's like you have this giant pile of elephant crap, and that's your world, okay? And it's just piling up and piling up and piling up. And if you see it as one giant pile of crap that you don't want to deal with because it's so much to deal with, and you keep putting it off, not realizing that there's just more crap being piled on over time, it's going to do a number on your psyche, trying to sweep it under the rug is what you're trying to say.
That's what I was going to bring up, was because you're tripping over it, right?
You're tripping over it, wondering okay, what do I do with this? But if you start chipping away at it, bit by bit, shovel by shovel, wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow, it will eventually start to lower over time. And that's your long-term perceptual changes that come from dealing with stress. Okay? So that everyday maintenance can be seen as, like I said, all that trash or all that crap that's being thrown on there. It's like your maintenance, your outlets is actually cleaning up that daily. Because again, that crap's not going to stop. It's just going to continue to grow. Again, if you don't deal with it, just keep shoving it in your closet, sweeping it under the rug, that rug in that closet is going to overfill. And you're going to feel overwhelmed and not understand where you're going to go. Why am I feeling so much pressure or so much stress that I can't deal with anything and I can't focus and I can't move forward and I feel like I'm stuck or I'm not accomplishing anything. All these different things start to come out. All right. So finding those outlets to release, or at least to go, hey, yeah, I have this giant pile that I need to deal with, that I need to take time for myself to deal with by myself or even with others over time. But as new crap starts getting put in, you use those outlets to shovel that away on the daily so it doesn't continue to grow higher. So when, again, it perceptually, again, it really depends on how you view it, because that big pile of crap that you're dealing with may always just seem like a big pile of crap, and those little pieces of crap it's a lot of crap today, may not seem like they're making a difference, but it does. It absolutely does.
I think you don't notice it at first, but the more you do it, the more you notice slight differences in yourself, and the more people around you notice slight differences in yourself.
Yeah.
And ultimately things that I've learned over doing things like this, it's like, it's not just you that it, yes, it affects you mainly, but you have to realize that because of the things that are happening within you, whether it be anxiety or depression, that it's also affecting the people around you and people that you love and don't intend to hurt. Um, so yeah.
No, absolutely. That's what I was talking about with karma. It's people think it's like some mystical idea. It's really not. It can literally happen that way. Again, it's just transferring that energy, that negative energy, if you're going to put out negative energy, it's onto somebody else as an emotional dumpster. Is essentially what it is. Like, I can't deal with my crap, you deal with it. And now they get dealt with crap, and it's like, now what? And now, again, they may know how to do it and be able to put it into outlets and stuff. But they do have their own crap to deal with. But again, that's the nature of karma, right? So there are much better ways of dealing with that, than and being taking responsibility for that for yourself is. Do I mean what?
You can't pimp slap somebody.
No,
seems to be the outlet for
violent,
my generation.
Violent, retribution or violent, involuntary violence where people feel that need to just let it out. Again, comes from this stuff. That's where a lot of that comes from. I want to take it out on you.
Like abusers?
Yes. Abusers do that because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. They don't have it out. Look, okay. I know I didn't want to get into this, but because I talk about it a lot. All right. I always remember. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There was a class that I had. It was Psychology 101, and the guy that was teaching it, I guess before, he used to be, he was known for being such a hard A with this class that he would make, and this is an intro class, mind you, he would make everyone interested in psychology as a major write a 500-page dissertation on something in psychology, and it essentially turned off most everybody, except when I got there. It had already been like maybe a year, and he was introduced to drugs and recreational drugs, and he completely flipped, and he's like, kind of like, oh yeah, man, like it just the way that he sounded, it was like you couldn't believe that this dude who sounds like a stoner, a massive stoner, like, yeah, man, you gotta let go, and just you would not believe that this is the guy that used to make new intro to psychology students write a 500-page dissertation by the end of in a community college, no less. At the time I was going to a community college, but he had mentioned something where, and it, for some reason, it always stuck out to me, and I didn't know it was he was talking about gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder is what it used to be called, but men that believed, or it was the topic was, why do men cross dress, and he'd said, like, well, it was from gender identity disorders. The studies have shown, like, men that cross dress are the ones that have hardcore stereotypes of gender roles. So what that means is, men are men, women are women. Men don't cry, women cry. They have this hard set belief system into what they feel, or this understanding of gender, which is psychological. And if you study gender, it being psychological, it is a spectrum that you literally can change upon, right? But why did they cross-dress is because they felt that men are men, they don't have emotions. Men do have emotions, okay? Because there's no outlet for it. It's a big giant thing of crap that they're not dealing with. They literally had to physically cross-dress to dress as what they saw was women were dressing as, to allow those emotions to come out. That is where that, for some reason, that always stuck out to me. Man, that was 20 years ago, and I still remember that. But it always stuck out to me, like, oh, that was a really interesting, study that they were doing, and why this whole idea of gender being assigned to your biological sex is just, again, ridiculous to me. They're two separate things. But kind of along that line of like these hardcore stereotypes, like men don't have emotions, that men can't do this. It doesn't work that way. Men do have emotions. We need those outlets, right? And it has nothing to do with whether you're masculine or feminine or whatever. It has everything to do with how you deal with it, right?
I wonder if that's why you see a lot of men are abusers. Like, like most men that you see, not most men that you see, but like when you see abusers, they're mostly men. You know, there are women too, which I think
Same thing.
trying to deny that there are women is really dumb. But I don't know, it kind of hit me when you said that, like thinking like, oh, if men don't have an outlet and they think it's too like feminine or something to be emotional, then abuse could happen, can stem from that.
Abuse, gender identity disorder, or gender dysphoria, all those things can stem from that, absolutely, because it does a number on their psyches. Why this is like, being disputed today off of this whole ideological warfare thing that's going on between people, just, what do you just assume their gender, or no, I want to be whatever gender I am, and assigning that to objective biological sex as they're one and the same. Like, those are those hardcore stereotypes. You're literally feeding that beast, and it doesn't. This is why it doesn't make sense, and a lot of things. I'm trying not to get too off topic on that, but that's essentially the same sort of idea. There's so many other things that happen from it too, but then you have this is why, identity becomes important, and I remember growing up and people telling us not to get stuck on like labels so much. But what is everybody doing now? They're totally stuck on labels. Like, here's my preferred pronoun. Like, literal language manipulation and a perversion of the meanings of language, of what language is supposed to be. And I'm not talking about like, people saying that, whether it's trans or gay or lesbian or LGBT is some sort of perversion of it. No, what I'm talking about is they want to twist, and they have, systematically began twisting the meanings of words to mean certain things. Like I said, it was, I think, in the early 80s where they started using gender to mean your biological sex. And they're not the same. Why they started doing it. Now you have on your forms, gender, what's your gender, and your preferred pronouns, like the separate things. Those can be separate because, again, if you want to prefer to be called, galactic leader of... Propecia or something, that's my preferred pronoun, so you gotta call me that. It's like Star-Lord, yeah, my preferred pronoun is Star-Lord. You shall forever call me Star-Lord. Again, that's why you have your name. That's why you can also legally change your name, but it doesn't change. Just changing those pronouns, it manipulates and perverts the language of what it was based off of for clarity, right? It has now become unclear. It has become muddy for that. Again, that's a whole other topic. But essentially, all those things with understanding who you are and what you like, what you want out of life, who you want to be, all those things do a number on your psyche. Okay, and not being able to have certain outlets and to transform that energy into something positive, to be the best version of you. It doesn't help when we're in this era where language is being perverted. And now when I say pervert, I'm not thinking, I know I should say manipulated, more manipulated to be loaded in a sense where, again, we're not understanding each other because people want to constantly change the meaning of it. Think about that. A pronoun is literally based off of your biological sex. Archaeology, when they dig up bones, they're like, that's a man, that's a woman, based on bone structure. It is literally an objective form of identification. Ergo, the pronouns are based off of that objective, not subjective, objective identification. Right? But, I don't feel that way. Okay, fine. Ergo, that's the psychological side, but that does not take away from the physical fact of your genetics, of your bone structure, of these differences. It's literally done all the time. And trying to muddy it up and make it seem like, no, it's because I feel different. It's like, I love that saying from Grant Cardone. Feelings lie. Feelings and people lie. Just because you feel that way doesn't necessarily mean that you are. Just because you feel someone is wrong doesn't mean that they are. You ever see that cartoon, or it's not really a meme, but it was like a comic, and it's like a number on the ground, and there's two people on either side, and it's a 6 on one side, but it's a 9 on the other, and they're like, it's a 6, and it's like, it's a 9, it's like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. You ever see that thing?
No.
Yeah, so that it's kind of like that. Your perception on that is your perspective. Who's right, who's wrong? Well, in their own viewpoint, each of them is correct.
That's
Doesn't make the other wrong.
discussing.
Discussion,
Discussion.
discussing these things and being able to say it. And this is why, again, I love the principle of Aikido, where you're actually seeing something from somebody else's perspective. We've lost that. We've lost that as a species, I feel, because that's exactly the political climate and how it's been for forever. Maybe. Again, I remember it coming around to that, but again, it could just be that's just my life experience. The era that I was growing up in. But man, like people have this whole thing going on with the digital walls. Now because they have further objectified other people, they don't have that immediacy factor, right? It's all this just digital wall. Oh, I can talk to a profile and say whatever I want to it because it's inferior to me. Again, that, and whether somebody will say, no, I don't see it that way. But if you literally have talked down on people on the internet, you subconsciously think that, even if you don't want to admit that. That is a fact. All right. That is the byproduct of of the constant objectification of people as profiles, not as people. And again, that has to do with our physicality, the immediacy factor. Why is it harder to say no to somebody in person, or why do we treat people differently in person than we do on the internet? Because the immediacy factor. Again, there's so many sensors all over our body that's taking in information, being interpreted by our brains physically to our environment and to people around us all the time on an unconscious level. That is a fact. That happens all the dang time. You don't get that on a digital wall. You don't get that on the internet, right? So, kind of rounding back to the topic at hand, being able to use outlets to just have some sort of grounding, right? We talked about overcompensation. Was that earlier this week? That was earlier this week, I think.
I think so.
Overcompensation, right? I feel all this pressure on one way, so I need to counterbalance it and toss it. And again, if you don't have a place to toss that, it's going to go out to other people, and you're going to have an effect on other people. And again, if that is massively negative, and you're throwing that onto somebody else or this whole group of people that you're around, whether it be family or friends, right? When you're talking about abusive relationships and everything, right? Then that comes back over because it's like, oh, well, I can't deal with all this emotional crap, so, I'm dealing with my own emotional crap. I can't deal with all yours too, so then they might create a chain or a circle of stress and negativity that just gets passed along, okay? Why it's important to deal with that. Why it's important to, when people start projecting out their insecurities like they do on the internet all the dang time, just being nasty to each other, not even treating people like with respect at all, just automatically, oh, you're part of this party or you believe this, if I disagree with you whatsoever, I'm just going to throw all my emotional, stress and insecurities and discomfort onto you. Again, that's horrible. That is horrible practice. Like, what? Why would you even do that? That's, again, karma. Karma is a real thing. Even in a digital space, because we have energy that we're putting out into the world. And again, it's a constant battle with that. Again, going back to using outlets and art and everything, that I know I used music as the example in the beginning, but using film, being able to express yourself through film, and this is why a lot of things, why do people get attached to characters, not just in films but in books, is because it's something that they connect with. Oh man, I connect with this character's experience. In fact, that's one of the arguments for not having overly expository language in your dialogue, right? Actually giving some subtext. On the nose dialogue irritates me so much, because when you talk to somebody, not everybody is so on the nose. It's like The Invention of Lying, right? The movie Invention of Lying. Everybody just says whatever's on their mind. There's no filter, no whatever. There's no subtext. It's just is, right? People don't exist that way. That is a fictional belief, all right? Even people that say, "Look, I'm always straightforward." Even I do that. I'm a very straightforward person. I will always tell you this, this. I've gotten caught in that, but the fact of the matter is, there's still stuff there's still subtext a lot of time. I try to do that just to streamline it, and I have to fight against my own natural instincts to mitigate my own self-defenses for that all the time. But that is a conscious thing that I've done, right? Not many people have done that. Okay, but using I'm trying to remember. Oh, like the over expository language. Not many people don't typically talk in like direct on the nose dialogue, right? In when we have dialogues with people, which makes it harder to connect with in that sort of sense. It's unrealistic. Granted, you can say, oh, it's a fictional representation. Like I said, there's a difference between reality and fiction, absolutely. But when you start connecting with characters, it's usually the ones that have something go down that they can connect with. So, here's the example. I've been trying to go pick up the example. I've mentioned this before, not on here, but to writing groups and filmmakers and everything. It's like people feel like there has to be a reaction, and I forget who was saying it. Was it Pacino?
Mm-hmm.
I forget who was, or Brando. So
I think it's Al Pacino, right?
I don't remember who actually was talking about it, and they said, here's the greatest thing. Everyone is expecting a reaction. Here's it. Say we're playing two characters, right? And I'm like you're trying to give me some bad news, and I have to choose where it is. So if you tell me like, oh, my mom died, right? And I am expository. I'm explaining like, what? What do you mean my mom died? Are you kidding me? Like, she was alive. She was fine. I just saw her a second ago, or just the other day. Nothing was wrong. How can you tell me all this? That's a choice, right? And when you write that into your film and your art, that's a choice. Mm-hmm. Now, when you tell that to me, so tell me that. So if you.
Oh, your mom died.
Like, so that's a choice. Like, oh, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean my mom died? I just saw her yesterday. She was doing fine. That's all on the nose dialogue. Now do it again.
Your mom died.
The art of silence. I didn't have to say all those things, right? And I didn't have to say a thing, but people have this tendency when they're connecting to something that is similar to their experience to fill in. If I said absolutely nothing at all, everyone started to assume, what are they feeling? Oh man, dude just didn't say anything. They just internalized everything. All the things that I've felt when I've gotten bad news, like somebody passed that I cared about. All their experiences fill in the blanks. That's subtext. I didn't have to say any of that stuff. How you felt like, when you heard like, oh man, if I got news about that, what would I feel like? That is literally your audience filling in your emotions for your actor and how they would empathize and connect. They didn't have to be on the nose. They didn't have to say any of that stuff. But excuse me. That kind of goes back to it. People internalize a lot of that stuff, and they fill in. When people go to watch movies and film, they are using that as a distraction. Okay? It's escapism. They're using that to escape the pressures of life and everything. However,
wasn't that why it was originally created, though?
Yeah. You can say, yeah, goes back to the
Like, people were suffering, and so the only way for them to like
yeah, the
escape
arena.
the reality was to go to the movies.
Well, not just the movies; it's entertainment in general. You're
Oh,
talking about
okay.
going back to like the
You
arena.
know, Roman, like
Yeah, yeah, I'm talking about like that. That's why they had those theaters, like people to distract them from being peasants and hard life as peasants. Let's give them something that they can cheer on and will be just Why do you think sports are so prominent? Sports have evolved from the old arenas. So have all forms like of not all forms, but forms of entertainment have done that. They are distractions because it's escapism. That's how we do it. That's how a lot of people over centuries have dealt with things. Let's not deal with things. Let's get distracted. And that's why it took so long for progress to happen. Right? You don't actually do these things mindfully to deal with stress on how to transfer all that stuff. It does a number on our psyches, again. And if you got everybody doing the same thing, right? Then now you have a society that is massively like against progress and moving together. This is why you don't see things like when there's like by 2020 we're gonna have flying cars, and it's like, or 2021 we'll have flying cars, and like nope, no, we've banned Dr. Seuss and Huck Finn and
Mr. Potato Head.
there was an issue of Mr. Potato Head, which didn't ban him, but or Pepe Le Pew and all these other things. And it doesn't matter how it started. It really doesn't matter how it started. It really doesn't matter. It's like, no, it was something else. It matters that people are still moving against that, and they're using those as scapegoats. But Pepe Le Pew wasn't getting consent. I'm like, bro, it's a political cartoon character. Like, that Looney Tunes started out as political characters and just went on from there. It is literally a fake, something that does not really exist. Okay, things in movies again, and again, they are reflections of life. A lot of those cartoons were meant to, be satire for real life situations. Why is it? I mean, man, they used to make fun of French people like that, like Pepe Le Pew, like like that was like that was a thing, and why they did that, was because they're overly, touchy, and the whole idea again was supposed to be, it's like Mel Brooks when he used to talk about why do you make fun of Nazis as all the time in your films. It's like, well, because he was Jewish, and it was better to satirize it, make it satire, than just to be like overbearing. It was a distraction. Entertainment is a distraction. So again, like going back to that, people go to the movies. They usually go and watch entertainment as distractions because you can't. There's no byproduct that they are actually driving their stress into, because once you escape into that world, when you come back to the real world, all those things are still there. That's why it is escapism. Alright? Now that is different on the side of... Oh, did it pause? No, I guess it... I don't know. Hopefully it didn't pause. Now that is different on the side of the filmmaker side, the art side of it. The making of that art. Okay? That is different. Because now you are creating a product. This is why it always irritates me when it's like, most useless jobs, artists. I'm like, really? It's like, art was on there. Yeah, starving. Why are we starving our artists? Right? They are creating these things that's literally used every day to escape reality for people for that. And it's like, why are we making them starve? Why are we constantly putting that down? And I like to relate it back to, and I'm going to bring it back up again, is the Big Six. Because the Big Six have returned in their own way, especially in the entertainment world. It's all owned by like 6 companies, or 5, arguably 5, because there have been mergers and things like that. Like our media, owned by the Big Six. The Big Six are back. Same thing with in the 1920s. But anyway, why is it that, again, like, do we make our artists starve? Okay, our artists are starving. It's owned by, very few elites, elite groups. There is literally big six, again, of companies that own all this, and so they get to dictate how much us artists get paid when they are the ones controlling the market. This is why we speak out a lot against, against the monopolization, the vertical integration of the film industry. So, and why it's important, like when they start making our artists starve again, it's like that can be used as our outlets. When we get on set, it's like we're moving. We have so much going there. And when that's stressed, it's like, hey, I'm stressed out. I'm frustrated over this problem. Instead of taking that out on people, we're driving that stress into find a solution, find a solution, find a solution, find a solution, find a solution. Where can we go? How can we fix it? What can we do? Is there something else we can be doing? Yes, we got downtime. Is there a pickup that we can shoot? Or is there all these things are going through our minds all the dang time, and we use that. Like I've said it before too. Like this on set is like my second home. I feel most comfortable on set, just the logistics of moving it and trying to find solutions and using that, because a lot of times I use it as my outlet. I don't get frustrated, or I can't say I don't get frustrated. I don't get stressed, negatively stressed. I get solutions, because I use that as and that's kind of the basis of like using stress as to build something that you can see. That's why I put so much into film, right? Before I got into film, I used to do that with martial arts. Let me dive into all this. It was a physical activity so that I could see progress over time that I'm doing. Did it freeze again? Man, I really hope it's going through. Anyway, but yeah, like using art as an outlet. The creators are the ones using it as an outlet, and when we start to demonize that, when these billionaire owners, corporations, and studios want to downplay, people making those things because they want to control everything on that, and they do, because they own it all. That's where we get again the rest of us that are feeling all of that and not being able to use outlets properly. This becomes a problem.
Well, with outlets, like there's no wrong outlet, right?
No, okay.
Oh.
Unless you're taking it on somebody else, you're harming somebody or putting
Harming
some sort
yourself.
of distress, harming yourself or harming others, or putting stress onto other people in some sort of manner. Like through destruction, through anarchy, through treating other people like crap, treating other people's property like crap, like putting them through strife, like say like releasing your anger on somebody's car and their property. Now they have stress. Again, that is not a very good outlet for you. That one person is gonna feel better, but now you just may have caused harm and stress to an entire family for doing that stuff. That's why I don't agree with all that. This BS that was going around. Like you see these people that you don't agree with, you get in their face and you cause them, you let them know, like how angry you are, and they don't belong. I'm like, wow, dude, what a way to dehumanize people. That is the dumbest dang thing that I've heard. These are your politicians, by the way, and the people that they're getting behind. Yeah, let's release all our anger on people that don't agree with us. That makes zero sense, dude. Like, it's so disheartening to see, but man, it's a very bleak future if that's the world you want to live in, where it's like you can't even have your own thoughts, you can't even have your own disagreements, and whose disagreements? You can't be human at all. Again, it's like that perspective of like, oh, that's a 6 on the ground. The other side, no, that's a 9 on the ground. Who's right? I've said this before, and I still believe it. Nobody believes what they believe because they think it's wrong, or they think that they're wrong. Every single person believes what they do because they believe it is right. Okay? Every single person. You don't hold on to beliefs if you think it's false. You don't go. People that believe that aliens exist go. I know it's fake, but aliens exist. That doesn't work that way. And the more we start understanding each other, or understanding ourselves and how we work as humans, the better and easier it's going to get with being able to just coexist with each other, like truly coexist, and be able to go, people can have a forum to speak. We can have a common language, right? Making sure that our language is not being manipulated to a point where nobody's understanding each other. All those things, right? It starts from inside. It starts with each one of us. It starts with you and I understanding ourselves and being able to understand like how the process of outlets work, how not to get distracted, right? How not to use it as a distraction, right? Film and entertainment, that is all a form of distraction if you're not making it. Okay? Art as a whole, right? If you're doing and making art, can be a distraction if you're not being mindful and driving that energy into your activity. So that's about our time. Hopefully this has gone through. I've been having connection issues like all week, and technical difficulties. So hopefully this had gone through. But appreciate you guys joining us on here, and hopefully you got something out of it. This is something I'm really passionate about. I know that you've come a long way too with utilizing some of these practices and whatnot. But we're going to get back to editing our review of the Snyder Cut, among other projects that we're doing. Yes. Oh, so this is our RPG IRL store. If you want to support us, you can buy any of our shirts from thewanderingkiltsman.com/shop. We do have our RPG IRL line like this, where we, I like these. I really like these. I have to stop myself from buying them.
There are a lot of other ones that are on there too.
Correct, and including other representation for the Wandering Killsman. Yep, the Mage Necromancer.
Yes,
one of my favorites. But yeah, you can support us there, or you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/HideHooliganFilms. If you like what you're seeing here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. So then we know that people actually enjoy this content and want to hear more.
And the like button.
And a like button too. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. This has been another live lunch. We will see you guys next week. Have a fantastic weekend.
Bye.